the parts that I don't particularly like or teach much around mirroring or around NLP or all these different tactics or different areas are the parts that I think are, one, somewhat outdated for today's world, for educated consumers, for the level of information that we have in the market today, the level of competitive analysis that we have today, the level of understanding of human psychology, of buyer psychology that we have today. And second of all, I think they get overplayed. And I think you would agree with this, not by a professional like you, but by a lot of amateurs who may hear this and now say, my prospect crosses their arms, I'm going to cross my arm. My prospect, says this, I'm going to say that. My prospect says I'm frustrated. Oh, you're frustrated. Yeah, I'm frustrated. Oh, so you're frustrated. Yeah, I'm frustrated. Okay, got it. You're frustrated. So that conversation is not going anywhere. They think I'm just going to keep mirroring myself to $1 million, right? So I see this taken out of context so much that I almost want to play devil's advocate and speak out against all these tactics because I see it the way I see scripts. I think the tactics are okay. And I think they have a place and I think they have value. And you better believe I use a lot of them myself. But I think, again, really learning concrete sales knowledge, like the actual sales process, the main pillars of every sales process, these different things I think will set somebody up for success. Because again, the main problem with mirroring is that what you want to get across is that your prospects need to feel heard, right? I don't know, for some reason, I use this analogy a lot. Your prospects are like crying babies, right? A newborn baby that's crying and screaming and yelling out, right? You need to acknowledge them. You need to let them know that they're heard. Otherwise, it's only going to get worse, right? So, and by the way, I'm not a father yet. I don't have a baby. So I'm talking from theory in this case here, but I've seen it a lot. So I feel like, they need to be acknowledged for that crying to stop. Your prospects are the same thing. So of course they need to feel heard. And yes, you need to communicate clearly that they are heard. You can use words like, what I'm hearing you say is XYZ. Is that correct? Yeah, that's correct. So that's a way that I would mirror, quote unquote, or I would acknowledge them, or I would get that agreement from the prospect, as opposed to just repeating. Because I see this a lot, and I see it going the wrong way more often than it goes the right way. And I think you realize why. If a person is not a professional like yourself, or doesn't have the car sales experience and the good stuff, they won't be able to use this correctly. And the second part of it that I wanted to touch on is with tactics like this, with mirroring, with everything that we've discussed, a lot of times what happens is the salespeople the amateurs at least, would leave it exactly where it is. So they would mirror or label or agree or whatever we want to call it. And then they wait. And then there's that awkward pause. And then there's that space. And then there's that, time for somebody to take control of this conversation. And oftentimes, again, if you're in front of an educated consumer, they're going to take control of that conversation, and you probably don't want that. So one of the main things that I like to really focus on is how you can control the sales process. And controlling is, of course, asking the questions, getting answers to those questions, but it's also in just having the accountability to assume control of that process. So if I'm going to do something like mirror or repeat back what they said or acknowledge them, I'm going to follow that up with moving them down the process, follow that up with another statement or another question, or how I can move this forward. I wouldn't just leave it where it is. So just to play devil's advocate, those are some things that I see happening a lot in terms of mistakes with things like mirroring, labeling, even scripts. So I think we really should clarify both sides to bring the utmost value to your audience.